All right, hello and welcome to another episode of Class Racing Today. It is May 6, 2021, Thursday. So we had a couple weeks here where we haven't really been able to have a full episode due to new equipment rolling in. We got Brian working his butt off. Me, I was traveling around a lot, so it was getting tough. But we are excited to be back. Today's episode brought to you by Artisan Coffee, coffeebyartisan.com. Go on the website, join the race team, get a free shirt, get a free hat, get 15% off of your coffee purchase. So that is coffeebyartisan.com. Here it is. All right. Also, we're on Facebook, we're on Instagram, we're on YouTube, we are on Apple. You guys already know this. It's classracingtoday.com is our website. Classracingtoday@gmail.com if you want to get a hold of us. Got any questions, concerns, requests, complaints? Need me to come out and do some driver interviews? Hit me up. If you guys want t-shirts and stickers, hit us up, classracingtoday@gmail.com. So t-shirts, stickers, t-shirts are $30. They come with a sticker and free shipping. Additional shirts are $25. All right, I'm out of breath. I haven't done that in a while. Brian, how you been?
It's good. Good. We've been busy. Spring's rolling. Getting my work out of the way, and I think it's actually we're way ahead of schedule. I started actually looked at my trailer today. I got a different trailer, and I got to get stuff put in there because our first association race is next weekend.
Already, you have an association race next weekend. You've been working. I haven't even, I haven't heard from you in weeks. I didn't even know if you were still alive. But you must be making lots of money. So, do you have a spare car, spare motor you can put together for me, or what?
We're not at that point yet, but
All right.
90% of my work comes in about 3 weeks, so it gets a little wild and crazy there. It's kind of funny. I was actually went and stopped by I get my oil changed at our local Watertown Ford Chrysler dealership, and I'm like, why? They must have forgot to put my sticker on because I've got 3,500 miles on it and it says I'm past an oil change. So I stopped in there. I'm like, you guys got to remember to put a sticker on. I'm like, I'm busy. I can't keep track of this stuff. He's like, we did. So in 6 weeks, I put 8,500 miles on my pickup.
Oh my goodness.
Like, whoops, guess I missed that one.
Oh boy. Well,
Yeah,
way
it's
to
just that
go.
time of year, but
Yeah.
I think we're about through it, and I'm excited to get all my junk loaded in the trailer. It's no different than it was in St. Louis, but there's a race of champions coming up, and I need to win one of these rounds or races so I can make it and qualify for that.
All right. Well, I hope you get in there, and I hope you remember to change the oil in your race car, not like on your truck. Okay. Especially when that thing was puffing it out in St. Louis. I know you probably added a little bit, and you should be good to go now.
Yeah, I'd like to have it better, but I guess it went rounds there, so it'll have to go
Yeah.
rounds this
It's your
weekend.
signature. It's your signature. We don't. There's too many red Camaros out there. We want to see the one blowing the smokestack out the back. We know it's you, and we know
I
to
wonder if I
root.
could do like a Smokey and the Bandit rap. But
I
no,
think
it'd
you
be
should.
fun. You should load your car.
I think you should put Green New Deal on the side of your car. That's my. That's what I think you should do.
Maybe I get a sponsorship from Tesla or something. No, you guys will have to start hauling your cars out here and racing with us, so you can actually go to
Yeah, we can
races.
do something. Right. We had the Virginia National event, which I was excited. It was going to be my first national in a while. I was entered super stock. That was just postponed indefinitely, which means they probably won't be making that one up. And a Bristol national event was added to the schedule for October 15th to the 17th. And we have a couple other schedule changes that I just want to rattle off real quick. D7 made a lot of schedule changes. They're going to be racing pretty late into the year. They're going to be going hard through end of September, October, all of October, and early November. So get on NHRAracer.com for anybody that wants to see that updated Division 7 schedule. And Toronto Motorsports Park, their PC Richard National Open, so that's a D1 National Open, has now been rescheduled. That was supposed to be coming up in June, I think. It's scheduled for September 3rd to the 5th. So anybody that wants to hit that race up, I don't know if the border has been opened yet, or maybe it's going to be very soon, but September 3rd to the 5th is that open if you want to hit that up. So let's nail down the NHRA Southern Nationals results. We had a stock eliminator heads up final, K stock automatic, my class. Thank God I wasn't in this heads up final. I probably wouldn't have gotten very far against Greg Rowe's car. He has an 88 Camaro, and he took out Adam Davis, who had a pretty sick 1969 Nomad wagon. That thing was nice looking. And Greg Rowe, he was 95 on the tree. He knew he had it. He went 1165 at 103 miles an hour, so he was kind of coasting. And he's pretty darn lucky he did, because he went 1165 with a 5. So he went 99.5 under the index, keeping him safe from any kind of AHFS review trigger. And Adam Davis went 1190 at 101 miles an hour, so almost about 3/10 margin of victory there for Greg Rowe. And then a super stock. We had a gentleman by the name of Kent Hanley in a GTE automatic 1994 Chevy Cavalier take out Brett Candies in his factory super stock G 2010 Mustang Cobra Jet. And in that race, Kent Hanley was 016. Man, that guy was solid all day on the tree. He was 16s, 20s, 16, 20. He had a 47 in there. I don't know how that happened. And he was 007. And with his 016 light in the final, he went 943.4 on a 942 dial to take out Brett Candies. Brett Candies broke out by 4th thou. He went 037 on the tree and 945.6 on a 946 dial. So Kent Hanley did a great job. And as a matter of fact, Kent Hanley is joining us right now. So Kent Hanley, how you doing, sir?
How can you not? How great, by the way. Thank you. Thank you guys for having me on and the invite. I appreciate it. Yeah, Bobby and Brian, thanks.
Absolutely, and thanks for joining us. So Kent, you not only won Superstock, you also had a runner-up finish in Super Comp. So it was just your weekend at the final Southern Nationals in Commerce, Georgia, Atlanta Dragway. So like, how did you pull that off? I mean, did you just came there on a mission, I guess, huh?
Sometimes it's better to be lucky than good. You know, I'll take my share of luck, and my breaks when I got them. You know, it's we all know that you need it. You know, to have luck. You know, to go that many rounds and three different days and all. And so I got my breaks when I needed, and so I was just really blessed.
I always say that the only thing that beats good is lucky, but nothing beats good and lucky.
Thank you.
Nothing beats good and lucky. Well, we rattled off Kent's lights there. I can't imagine there was too much luck in there. Maybe one round where he was 47, but I don't know what the other guy was. Maybe the other guy red lit and threw you off. So, I mean, your lights outside of that.
That was definitely my lucky round. I was running Jake Seeley, and the weather, that was Saturday morning, and the weather changed significantly from Friday. Friday was, barometer was like 29, 22, and it popped up 10% and 0.1, and the weather got colder and everything else. And so everybody was on a fast pass. And so I chipped it down, not wanting to do something stupid. And, Jake was, I think 15 on the tree. And so I'm rolling down on top of him. I'm trying to get on the left-hand side to get in his blind spot. And I got lucky and pushed him out, and I was, at that point. So I dodged that bullet. Needless to say, I tightened it up on the extra, I put it back up.
Kept it back up. Yep. I know. I was hoping. I was hanging with Anthony Bongiovanni, so you had to race him in the 3rd round.
I think I raced next. I think and what was sort of funny was Anthony and I were pitted right next to each other. He was like, they were right in front of each other, and I'd seen the ladder because I'd looked at, the night before as to how that might play out. And, I won that round. And next thing you know is Anthony's coming in my pits and asking me for shims for the trans brake button. I'm going, sure, whatever you need, I'll be glad to. Here, take whatever you want. So I'm like, I guess he's struggling on the tree a little. So I'm looking at my data real quick. I'm going, okay, he's trying to tighten it up some. So, who knows what will happen here, but And then I guess it didn't work that well. I mean,
no, I think he was like 50 or so. So yeah. he, you can shim it. You can do all that, but you got to take it out of your head that you did that. You have to do the same thing you did last time. And I feel like a lot of people, I mean, myself, when I adjust my clutch pedal stop or whatever, you know you did it and you're still like thinking about it, and it kind of messes up the whole point of doing it, you know, of making the adjustment.
Yep.
So
Yeah.
that's what I think that's what happened with Anthony, if I, you know, if he's listening right now.
And he's a
who,
great guy. You don't
yeah.
get any better people than Anthony.
Oh yeah, he's the best. Yep. I was hanging with him all weekend. He actually took me out to eat twice. So thanks, Anthony. You're the man.
You
Appreciate
guys
it.
didn't come over. I'm pitted right there next to you guys.
I didn't know that until it was time to leave. I saw him go in your trailer. I was like, oh, Kent's right over there. Yeah. We could have knocked on your door and brought you along. We had to drive 22 miles to Athens, Georgia, because he wanted to find an Italian restaurant, and there wasn't any near this track. So we took a long trip to
Can't imagine there's a lot of Italian restaurants in Commerce, Georgia.
with slim pickings.
Don't you guys have Olive Garden down there or what?
Oh yeah, that's what that was the closest.
Applebee's too. Olive Garden, Applebee's,
But they all have mac and cheese. Isn't that Italian?
Yep, mac and provolone. So Kent, tell us a little bit about your Cavalier. It's a 94 Cavalier. You run in GTA, so we're assuming it's got a 350 cubic inch engine in it.
Yep. We built the Cavalier, and I say we. At the time, I was racing stock eliminator, and a buddy of mine, Don Cinto, had a, I guess it was, I'm trying to think, mid 80s Camaro that I had driven every now and then in super stock. And we talked about building a GT car and all. And so he had a buddy that owned a salvage yard in New York City. So in 1994, we actually picked up a scrapped Cavalier and converted it into a race car in 1994. It started out as a stick car with the 302 combination that I ran for years in GTC at the time. And then probably about 10 years later or so, I converted it to an automatic, put the 350 in it. And we originally started with a 350 300 horse with a power glide, and then evolved to the 350 300 to what I run now, which is the 350 LT1, the 1970 version. Hey, I'm in the background there on your television screen.
There you are. See how you're doing that run. Looks like you guys are having a staging duel, so we'll let you know in a couple minutes. No, yeah, so you have the 70 LT1 motor, 350. Okay.
350, 360 horse factored. It's got aftermarket heads, and so it's got the 330 combination in it, and with the Hanley carburetor on it, and a Jacksepanic Pro Trans.
Jacksepanic. Yep, I was going to ask you who built the trans. So,
So was it hard to get free of the stick, like the stick mafia? Like, did you get hate mail, or did you have to change your name or move when you put an auto in a stick car?
Got banned. I wasn't allowed to show up anywhere. And they made fun of me. And so, but it was definitely. I mean, I drove stick forever. I mean, I started racing in '76. I mean, it actually started out with a '67 Camaro and stock and an F stock automatic, and I struggled figuring out the converter and everything else. And a buddy of mine, Wayne Henderson, who now owns Indy Gear, helped convince me to put a 4-speed in it. So I ran G stock for a long time, and then with a 327 275 horse, and then migrated over to the 302, and I ran the 302 for years until 94 when I sold it and jumped into the Cavalier. So.
And then you've had a lot more free time at the races now, and you get to smile a lot more and go more rounds now that it's an auto, right?
Yeah, no more having to worry about getting in the can or anything like that, and adjusting the clutch, and it's actually it's a pleasurable drive now because you just let go of the trans brake button, you can start looking around and waving to people, and as opposed to the 4-speed, you're still shifting gears and doing all this stuff, and then about the 8th mile you realize, okay, I'm done now, I can look around. Yes, so big difference.
A lot more free time.
Yeah, exactly.
In the car and out of it. Yeah. Now, Kent, you had good success with the stick car, and obviously without the stick car, but you've won 4 NHRA national events and 2 IHRA national events.
Yes.
Is that right? And I think 10. Well, according to Drag Race Central, it said you were 4 national event wins in 8 final rounds, but we're not counting IHRA final rounds, so we're thinking 10 final rounds and 6 national event wins. That's a pretty nice That's a pretty nice career goal right there. I mean, I'd be
Pretty-
happy with one.
Yeah, I was been very lucky, very blessed, and actually, go back to the stick. I won the NHRA national event with a stick and run the Keystones with a stick, both in super stock. And actually, in my first divisional championship in Division 3 in stock eliminator was with the stick.
Right,
So-
and that was with the 67
67.
Camaro. Yeah.
Yeah. No, I love driving a stick. I just didn't think it was as competitive. I mean, how do you, when you're having to shift and everything else and compete against letting the trans brake and letting it automatic shift it, and it gets hard in the late rounds. These stick guys, you got to give a lot of credit to, because I mean, you get into late rounds, the track's hot and greasy and all, and it's a whole different animal of how your setup is and all. And it's not, I mean, to me, it's very difficult. I mean, guys like you, Brad Zakowski and all, have proved it different. And I mean, there's a lot of very, very successful Kevin Helms. Look at how many, championships Kevin won. So
Yeah.
there's guys that can do it. I'm just not that talented.
Yeah. Yes, you were. I mean, you definitely did well with it. Who builds your engines, Kent?
Gary Hetler does the heads and the intake manifold. Gary Stinnett does the carburetors, and Rick Mann's doing the short blocks, And then I dyno it all at John West Automotive here in Raleigh. And David West.
You have an all-star cast right there working on your power plant. So from
Very,
top to
very
bottom.
Yeah, pretty lucky.
And down in Raleigh. So you are a transplant. You moved about, but you were up here with us up in the Northeast.
Yep.
And you moved to North Carolina. How long ago did you move there?
I moved from Connecticut to Raleigh in 2016, in August of 16. And prior to that, I was born and raised in Indianapolis. Most people don't know that I grew up in Indy. And then corporate America, after I graduated Indiana University, corporate America moved me from Indianapolis to Lima, Ohio, to outside of Pittsburgh, and then to Connecticut in '83. And so I lived from '83 to 16 in Raleigh. I'm sorry, in Connecticut. So, but we love it down south, though. This is as far north as I'm ever going to live.
It's like everybody's favorite thing now, getting out of here and going down there.
I got like 6 racetracks within an hour and a half. I mean, it's insane.
But aren't they 8th mile? Or are they?
Yeah, everything pretty much is 8th mile. I say that loosely because Dinwiddie, Virginia, is 2 hours from me, and it's quarter mile. But they typically run 8th mile on the weekends. But they will let you test quarter mile. And then Rockingham's an hour and a half south of me, and I've run obviously they run quarter mile there for the points races and all. But places like Galat, which is just a world-class facility, I'm going to race Piedmont. They got a big bracket race here coming up, which is 8th mile next weekend. Of course, Charlotte's only about 2.5 hours from me. Got Mooresville, that's 2 hours from me. There's Farmington, there's Roxborough, there's Fayetteville. I mean,
Wow,
the list is it's crazy. It's nuts,
And you're
I don't
getting
know how they
you're-
Do you like 8th mile racing?
Yeah, actually, I think it helps you, believe it or not, because it's so quick. You got to get settled in real quick and start looking, and so I think it helps you train better, because if you can find them and set up on the 8th mile, I think it helps you drive the finish line in the quarter mile because you got so much longer, in order to set up. But miles just deadly. I mean, you've got to be on. I mean, because the cars just don't move that much. It's pretty insane.
I actually really enjoy 8th mile. Like, I'm new to it. I guess I'm third season, I should say that. Like, I don't have 350 runs probably in a race car, and I like the 8th mile. Like, you got to make a decision. You basically have to have a plan, execute it, and it's over. Like,
yeah.
It's really fun. It's fast. Everybody hates it quarter mile, and even our association, a lot of people complain about it, but I thoroughly like it. And just being a student of the sport and trying to gather as much as I can, I feel like some of my best lessons and like the most fun and like, oh, this is how this works, or just different strategies are really fun to do in the 8th mile.
Yeah, I mean, it's NHRA actually has a divisional race here at Galat that's 8th mile, and I think a lot of people were a little skeptical of it, but they have a phenomenal Carolina Class Racing Association out here that's probably got 20 races during the year, and they're all 8th mile. And those guys are just killer. I mean, they drive really, really well, and they're all over the place. And so, I think all stock super stock racers got to get used to it a little, because it's just, it's a shame to pass up racing just because it's not a quarter mile. And I know there's a lot of folks that just have to go be quarter mile, but I don't know many parts of the country outside of like the Northeast that are still racing a lot of quarter mile. I mean, what is it out there with you, Brian? I mean, is it all, you got a lot of quarter mile places?
So we've got, let's see, Piers 3.5 hours away. That's quarter mile. We've got Thunder Valley, which is probably my home track. That's about 3 hours away. That's quarter mile. Brainerd's 3.5. But we got a little track like an hour and a half from my house. It's 8th mile, Grove Creek, and I like going down there just doing the bracket race thing. I got the stalker out there just bracket race, but man, it's fun, and you get a lot of passes in. You burn half the fuel. It's half the wear and tear. Like, if you want to try to save some money, you save a lot of wear and tear in the car, I think, doing the 8th mile. And then there's a really nice little track in Ottawa, Iowa, down by Sioux City now that's 8th mile, and they've talked about going quarter, but I think it's like anything. If you can get good at 8th and good at quarter, it's just like, you got to build your thing. It's like, yeah, can you drive during the day? Well, I like night racing sometimes too. You get diversity because you never know what situation you're going to be put in.
Yep. Yeah.
I get the stick guys, they hit. I mean, I could see their argument, but you could also gear up for it. Like, you could set your car up for 8th mile too. I realize it would take a little more for it, but be ready for what the track gives you, not what you prefer.
And there's a lot of, I mean, there's a million stick cars out here in that class, the Carolina Class Racing Association. So they figured it out. I don't know how, I haven't watched them that close to see how they do it, but I mean, they got no problem with it. I mean, they're grabbing the gears, and there's a lot of them. So,
I just want to go racing. I don't care where it is or how long it is.
A cute story was, we all know Peter and Kyle, and they set up the flings. And it was a couple of years ago. They have a fling here in North Carolina at Galat, which is about an hour from the house. And 4th round, let me back up. I was racing the super stock car and my dragster at the race, and I'd put a delay box in the super stock car so I could run it. In 4th round, who do I pull up against? But Dan Fletcher. So Fletcher and I are having to run 4th round together, and Peter's on the microphone, and so he was having a ball watching 2 super stock cars, up there on the starting line during the fling bracket race, which was a lot of fun.
Who won? You or Fletcher?
I got that one. I got lucky on that one. So whenever you beat Dan, you're lucky. It's like zero room.
I never had to race him, so I don't know. But I've never been lucky against you. I know that. I think I'm like 0 for the century against you, Kent. If I'm 008, you're 007, man. Like, it's you and I have had some tight ones.
Yeah, we have. We certainly have.
So one of these years, I'm coming for you, or I'm hiding from you, probably.
I'll hide from you. It's all right.
As long as you meet in the final, it don't matter, Bobby.
Yeah, a final. Well, I'll take a final. Yeah, I don't care at that point. Kent, that 1970 LT1 motor, did you say what was that advertised and rated at?
It's rated at NHRA's is 330 because I got the aftermarket head on it, but the factory is 360 on it. So it's the LT1's like a 202 valve head, and it comes with a 780 Holly on it, with a little dome in it. So it's sort of like it's like the 302 motor, but the only difference is it's just got a little more cubic inches.
All right, yeah. So advertised at 360, you have aftermarket heads on it, and you're only rated at 330. So that's got to be a pretty good combo, because if you had the iron heads on it, what would it?
325 with the OEM heads.
With the OEM heads, yeah. Assuming they're iron heads, right?
Yeah.
Wow.
It actually got hit. I mean, a bunch of us, where I was Goulia's customer back in the day. We started out, after I went over there for some work, and there was about 5 or 6 of us running the 350, 300 horse motor, and then that got hit. And so Goulia's talked us all into switching to the LT1, because we could take our same heads and just put 202s in them and just put different pistons in them and all. And so we went to the LT1, and then that thing got killed and clobbered. And so John's trying to get everybody to move over to the fuel injected. I said, no, I've already done this once. I'm not going through the same crowd. The same crowd. It's already cost me a fortune,
Yeah.
So I'll just stick here with the LT1 and lick my wounds, and I'll be under factored for a while, or I'll be over factored and also. But fortunately, I think the technology is coming around where things picking up a little again.
That's funny. So you it's like musical chairs there with the engine combos. I wonder how many they changed since then. Are they still on that one, you think?
No, they're all sitting on that L98 combination, which is just like crazy fast.
Oh
you know,
yeah.
and
Yep.
So, and these guys are just, stupid fast. And because you got the 87 and the 89, and there's like 0.2 of a cc difference in the combustion chamber or whatever. And so most of them claim 1 year, and they've killed that to where I shouldn't say killed it. I think Craig, who you interviewed the other day at Atlanta, I think he was running that combination, who went 108 under #1 qualifier, but he was using the one that they've hit. And they got the other L98 is like 30 horsepower less than that they save for Indy.
Wow.
Yeah.
So for what we think is 0.2 of a cc in the chamber, you get a 30 horsepower difference. Wow.
It's like give you an idea like how fast Craig goes, and Craig is fast. I mean, he'll jump in, F, and I think that motor's rated at 307, and I'm rated at like 330, and he still outruns me.
You gotta. It's a chess game. Super stock is it's a chess game, and I do enjoy that part. Which I do see that there was a vote going on Class Racer about the AHFS at Indy, yep. And whether it should be on, whether it shouldn't be on, because this year they're actually putting it on, right?
Yes, and it was probably about 5 years ago. The actually the racers asked for it, so SRAC presented it, and NHRA went along with it, and so they took it off. And then this year they finally decided to go back to it, and they announced it right after Indy this past year, which sort of surprised everybody because we hadn't really. I mean, every year we talk about the automatic horsepower factoring system and trying to figure. I mean, it's a constant discussion with the SRAC, trying to figure out how to make it work better. But everyone's figured their way around it, and I think NHRA finally realized that if we keep taking races away so it can't do its job, how is the program going to work? And like if you looked at Indy, forget 2020 because it was an oddball year, we really didn't have class per se. But if you look at 18 and 19, there was 20. It would have normally been a mineshaft race, which is hard to believe that you'd think Indy would ever be a mineshaft race in the middle of the country.
Yeah,
it would have made mineshaft. And there was so that means that the only ones that it would get hit are the 120 under ones. And there was like 36 cars combined between 18 and 19 that had gone 120 under. And of the 36, half of them were the same guys, same combination year over year.
Yeah.
And I think it was one of those 2 years in stock eliminator, it took over a second under to qualify in the 128 car field. I think number like 130 was 1 second under, which was crazy.
Yeah. So, well, just in St. Louis, what Eric Campolito was driving Ernie Neal's Caprice. He was more than 2 seconds under the index. So
crazy. Well, and I think NHRA's got, because in the AHVS, NHRA has a written in there that they could make adjustments if they wanted to. They could step outside the averages and do it. But I think that because cars have been going so far under the index, it's put a lot of pressure on NHRA and the tech department. People are bitching and complaining and saying, hey, what are you going to do about this combination? And so I think they're trying to take themselves out of the equation and get it back to where the system can work itself. But I'm guessing that you're going to see a lot of 119 unders at Indy this year.
Yeah, that's, I'm fine with that. You can try that. That's part of the chess game again. So just maybe it does need some tweaking. But whatever they give us, we're smart. We're going to find a way to game it. That's just the way everything is.
Oh, absolutely.
It's the way every sport works.
Yeah, absolutely.
They should just average your top. They should just take the fastest runs in each class and average those together for the year.
It's amazing the number of suggestions that have come up to try and how to change the AHFS and how to make it work. And I'm not sure NHRA wants to put a whole lot of time into trying to figure out a new equation. I think they're just trying to struggle on how to get races going this year as well. But I mean, it has. I think Indy embarrasses them in the fact that they realize, because they always said in the past, we will not use Indy data for making changes, because we told people there's not going to be automatic horsepower factor system, and so they've lived up to their word on that. They said we're just going to ignore it. But after 5 years of repeating and seeing that happen, they're going to go say we got to do something here. So
Yeah.
I mean, that's why I think they were so quick to pull the trigger and announce it, that it would be around for Indy of this year.
Yeah,
It'll
and
be
I'm
interesting to
assuming
see what happens there.
they're going to keep doing their teardowns and as customary at Indy. So I did see Jeff Atkinson got DQ'd in Atlanta this past weekend.
Yes.
And I was trying to find out. I didn't get a chance to talk to him, but I heard, and you know how racing is all rumor based, that it was a throttle body issue. So if anybody knows anything about that, maybe they can write in. I haven't seen anything on NHRA Racer. I haven't talked to Jeff. I don't want to.
It was a throttle body. NHRA was looking at throttle bodies at Atlanta, in particular, because after the race we were trying to figure out what we were told they were going to start looking at throttle bodies at Atlanta, and I say we were told, that like the day of the race, that it would, like the question was asked to the tech department, okay, so what are you guys going to look at? And they said throttle bodies. And so they were looking at really primarily the newer throttle bodies as opposed to the older throttle bodies, which originally, but that didn't come out till later, after they'd already done it. So they were looking for aftermarket throttle bodies that were not approved. And there's some discussion, and I'll just be honest, that there's some confusion as to whether or not that throttle body was approved or not approved. Unfortunately, it wasn't on the approved list, but from what I understand, that some people said that it had been verbally approved, but it hadn't been. So unfortunate to Jeff that he had, he was DQ'd for that, and so.
Well,
but I think the good news is NHRA is starting to do some form of tech,
yeah,
and they're going to start some inspections. Ironically, what I heard what some racers ask, being on SRAC. Some racers asked they're concerned about guys not having the right cubic inches. So they were asking, could NHRA start randomly pumping stock and super stock cars just to keep everybody honest?
Yeah.
And I think we all appreciate the integrity. NHRA's got to keep the integrity. And that's one thing, as an SRAC, we've complained about, is that we need to have a tech department. You all got to be, enforcing it. You've got to inspect these cars, because without you guys doing it, and people, especially now that there is quote unquote no tech, you don't know what's going to show up at the track. And so to preserve our classes, stock and super stock, we need them to be, to going around and doing that. So in a way, it was good to see them out there doing something and checking it. Sorry it's a shame about the confusion as to what happened with that, but at least they're going out and checking it. But it'd be interesting to see if they start pumping them, because it's really easy to do. And that might keep us, some people honest.
I'm all for it.
Well, I've been around it just a short time, but it's amazing. It seems like the last few races there's been, or I don't know if last few races, but essentially there's been more violations in the last, say, 6 months. It seems like they obviously, maybe it was there before, I just didn't pay attention, but I feel like they're doing more teching now than they were when I started.
Well, they pulled me over after 4th round and checked my carburetor. So just as a random deal, which I was glad they did it. But it was it was interesting. It was here it is, 4th round. We're down to 4 cars. Going into Sunday, and now they're want to check my carburetor and going, okay.
Yeah.
That's when I want my opponents to be techs.
Exactly.
Oh, whoops! I guess that wasn't legal. Sure, I'll take that bye into the final. But no, I'm just glad. Hats off to NHRA, and hats off to you for bringing that suggestion up and pushing that. It's really awesome to see that they're doing that now.
it just I like when they check things. I love that they're checking things, but like the confusing throttle body, like if that's checked after Q1 and you tell me like that throttle body is not right or something, then I can either plead my argument and say, well, I thought it was blah blah blah, but I have another one in the trailer I could put on, you know.
Right.
But if you're doing it after Q3 or Q2 or first round, and I didn't know that this thing, you know, if it was a confusing thing, if it was an actual blatant, you could tell the numbers were wrong on it and the measurements were wrong on it, then you know, to heck with you, you should be thrown out.
Right.
But if I would think that the diameter, you know, or if the diameter is the same but the part number is wrong, then maybe you could let me just hurry up and see if I could find another one or the one that you need me to find. I don't know if they're if it's something that you can fix. I would love for them to find it early. If it's pumping, you ain't fixing that by the end of the race. So you go on, see you later.
Well, and I think what's interesting is earlier this year, you know, after Gainesville, and where Gainesville, you know, Cody got thrown out for a throttle body, and after he'd gone 120 under, they inspected him after you know, winning class, and then Summers was thrown out for a carburetor as well after class. We had an SRAC call, and the primary discussion first was fines versus penalties, you know, suspensions. And because NHRA, I think, levied a $2,500 fine and to to Summers, but just then told Cody, okay, well, you have an illegal throttle body, but you're only set out that race. So there was a discussion as to NHRA thought, or under the impression that the SRC voted for or would like to see more financial penalties as opposed to suspensions. In reality, so those Division I racers that are on my email distribution list. I took a survey from the Division I people so I could represent them, and hands down, the D1 stock, super stock racers said, throw people out. You know, first determine if it's cheating or if it's just a mistake. You know, if it's just if it's 0.2 of a cc. You know, if it's a 1/4 inch in wheelbase, if it's something that's just a rounding error or something like that, that's not what they would consider flagrant cheating. You know, but if somebody's cheating, you know, pretty much everyone said throw them out for a year. You know, make it hurt.
Yeah.
You know, don't make it a one. You know, because if it's a one race deal, fine. If I get thrown out, who cares? I'll come back next week with a different one.
Right.
And
then after that race, put the old one back on.
Right. Exactly. And so NHRA listened, you know, and because we said throwing the dollars and cents thing at people doesn't really make a difference. It's, I mean, one of the analogies by one of the racers that sent responses back to me said, it's like buybacks. You know, it's like, okay, I just bought back into the next race. I just wrote my check for the fine, and here I am again. And none of us want to run against cheaters, you know. No. And I think that was, and again, it's all about maintaining the integrity of sport so it'll be interesting to see how NHRA handles, you know, any sort of situations where they didn't, you know, they caught somebody with something minor or something, you know, cheating and going forward. But that was a big discussion, you know, across the board for the FRAC.
I kind of feel for NHRA. They're like the teacher for the naughty class, you know. Everybody's trying to find that gray area to get a little faster, and we all want to be teched, but yet don't want them to tech us if we're a little grayer than the next guy. Like, everybody has an opinion, you know. It seems like super stock racers are a fairly opinionated group. So
I think one of the best things I ever heard was, and it was 1 year back, it was revolved in stock cars, and Ray Everham was crew chief for Jeff Gordon. And he had like changed 20 different things in the car, and it took him like 3 or 4 times to get through tech. And so they interviewed Gordon afterwards. He says, well, what do you think about Everham, you know, having such time to get through tech? And he pauses a second. He goes, I think that's what we pay him for, you know, to try and not get through tech. And I think in our sport, oftentimes, if we get into the gray water, people oftentimes consider you a cheater, you know, as opposed to, okay, I'm trying to walk in the gray area. And one thing NHRA had talked about from a suspension point of view, and we had this conversation directly with them, said, NHRA, I can understand why you would want to issue fines, because if you fine somebody, you get the money, and that racer's back next week, and you're getting their money from them tomorrow. So you're not losing any revenue. If you suspend somebody, then you've lost revenue for that racer for X period of time. And it was established, and I'm going back now, 2013, when Glenn Gray was running the tech department, and Glenn brought over the fine situation from IndyCars where he was. And so we talked about, I said, well, we talked about it this year. He said, yeah, I could see it in IndyCar giving fines. I could see it in NASCAR giving fines. I could see giving in the pro stock, top fuel funny car, because if you suspend any of those people, you don't have a full field. You don't have it. You can't suspend them. What are you gonna do? Suspend John Force? You'd lose, you're, and so, but in stock and super stock, there's plenty of us. So, we'd rather, I think that was the mindset. We'd rather suspend than fine, because there's so many, these races are filling up with grade 8 and grade 7, let alone, you're just fining us. I mean, you got to do that for the pros and everybody else. Otherwise you wouldn't have a show.
They're trying to keep us out of the national events the way it is.
That's the whole nother subject, because of when you look at the schedule for Gainesville, and that was a big discussion that come in at Atlanta. And there's been a lot of emails to Josh and to Ned already this week following Atlanta about how 50% of the racers and sportsmen were gone by 4 o'clock on the first day.
Yeah.
And 93% of the sportsman racers were gone by 11 o'clock on Saturday. I mean, there's were guys that were coming up saying, I don't feel like even putting out my awning because I don't know, like 6 hours from now if I'm going to be going home or not. And let's face it, we're not there for the money. We're there for the camaraderie, the enjoyment, the competition. So it's
like a getaway. It's like you want to make at least a couple days out of it.
Yeah.
And try to win. But I went to. We don't do 3-day national events really up in the Northeast. Everything's a 4-day for us, right? But I remember going out to Arizona in 2013 just to watch. They gave them 2 qualifying sessions on Friday and another one on Saturday morning at the national event, and then went into first round Saturday afternoon. And there were probably more cars at that event, and they finished on Sunday by like 4 o'clock, whatever it was. I mean, I stayed for the whole event. There was no problems. Why are they trying to rush everything, taking less cars and rush the schedule now? Do you know?
And it's all about television. I mean, get us in and get us out. But one suggestion was, and if you look at Atlanta's schedule, you had Q1, Q2, time trial 1, time trial 2, whichever class you're in. And then you had eliminations for all those. And then after that, you had alcohol, Q1 for alcohol, and then you had Q1 for pro mod. They could have easily turned around and not had eliminations for stock, super stock for the sportsman guys, and brought in Q1 and Q2 for alcohol and pro mod, and made that day completely qualifying, and then moved into eliminations on Saturday. And at least got guys, at least they were there one night. You know what I mean? And that's been suggested. So we'll see where it goes. I mean, I'm not too hopeful.
That makes it more fun. That's the whole thing at a national event, is you are supposed to be dialing your car on Friday or Saturday morning with with your data from the day before. That's what it's the chess game. So,
and I think you could make it actually an argument that you could bring fans in, because you've got, alcohol and a couple rounds of alcohol and a couple rounds of pro mod, on Friday. You could have a nice little Friday night session.
Right. Yep.
And that place was packed.
Oh my goodness, was it?
They had fans.
Mm-hmm.
I think too, as far as with the grade points, for us where it's hard to get enough grade points, I think, get rid of the quota, let 120 sign up and pay, then qualify, take the top 70 qualifiers. There's people that'll risk it to go, and you're going to people are not going to hold back. You're going to run all out if you want to make the race.
Well,
I don't get that.
I'm sorry. Interesting, Brian, you brought that up, because that was a suggestion from a racer in Division 3 for national events to bring more people in, but qualify the field, but not at 128. Qualify, I mean, the number came out at like 48. And so bring 60, bring 80 guys in or whatever, or bring 64 in and qualify 48. Could it potentially help the automatic horsepower inspector system? Probably, but I've got some friends that run Top Dragster, and they watch the entry list, and they'll bail at the last minute if they feel like they can't qualify. So I'd hate to see, the unintended consequences could very well be is the fact that now people won't go to the points races so much because they feel like, trying to strive for the 8 grade points. They'll stop going to those because they realize, hey, I'm a 6/10 under player. I can't qualify in a national event, but I could go to 8 points races in order to get in. And so now I'd be concerned that you would lose racers because of the fact that they, and of course the argument is, well, we're a performance-based class, spend more money on your car. Well, we know how many gray-haired guys that are out there, that are retired, that are work off budgets,
Yeah.
So it's an interesting dilemma.
Double-edged sword there. Yeah. There's no perfect scenario. We just keep trying to figure it out. But man, Atlanta was absolutely packed. They were honoring tickets from last year and selling new tickets for this year. So it was amazing. And then Walmart was even there giving out free COVID shots to anybody who wanted them. But last I had heard, they had only given out 31 shots on Saturday out of the how many thousands of people that were there. They were trying to get to 50. They were trying to get 50 shots by the end of the weekend, I think was their goal.
That's a shame. I heard that the number 3 guy in Walmart was there for the announcement, as was the governor of Atlanta was there and sat in Clay Milliken's car.
Yeah. Yep.
I mean, how would you like to be the governor and you're at this racetrack and the place is packed? There's people all over the place, and it's being sold and being shut down, and you're never gonna have a race again. I mean, you got to be looking around, sitting there saying, "Boy, this stimulates the hell out of this economy." And
right.
And now we don't have any type of venue like this in the state of Georgia anymore.
Stimulated commerce, Georgia. What else is going to stimulate commerce, Georgia, like that event just did this past weekend? Well, what's going there? I've heard so many different things. I heard there's a battery factory down the street that's going in. I know that, but Amazon warehouse was going over the track. They were building condos or townhouse condos, I think, right at the top of the staging lanes.
Yeah. I heard an NHRA, the guy parking us at NHRA said that originally it was going to be the battery group, but that was around the corner. That Amazon bought it for like 6.5 or somewhere around in there. Yeah,
I would have bought it for 6.5 if we could have an event like that once a month.
I guess it's you see it. It's sad to see that here your own association, where we got tracks that are falling by the wayside for whatever reason, and that you would hope that your own association, could maintain at least these tracks so that we could preserve the sport in certain regions of the country.
I think that's where it comes down to, like we have a really good stock super stock association here with Midwest Class Racers, but you got to sponsor those guys, and whether it's a quarter mile or an eighth mile, I mean, you got to sponsor all the tracks because they're not going to be around forever if we don't. And as racers, I think that's one good thing about our association is that everybody's really come together and supported that thing. And there's some guys behind the scenes really putting in a lot of work, but I mean, without them, we wouldn't have nothing. I wouldn't have a stock super stock car. It's going to go away if the racers are going to have to kind of pick up the reins, even like some of these big money races like Bohannon and Butner. I mean, those guys are helping kind of drive people back into that sport. I mean, you get some big name bracket guys looking for stock cars, come racing those.
Sure. And I think if you look at some of the bracket racing, because of all the big money bracket stuff, I think there's a lot of racers that have not supported their local bracket tracks anymore because they're saving their money to go to these big money races. So the local tracks might be hurting on the weekends as well because they don't have the same turnout. I know Glot here has now moved to having twin $5,000 races once a month, for their bracket program to try and get the car count because they just couldn't get it with just, your average, $2,000 to win or whatever.
Wow. Yeah. And that's better than we used to race for at Maple Grove. And we would fill up 4 lanes with bracket cars, on a given weekend when I first started. So that track's in a good spot though. They always get a good car count. But before we let you go, Ken, I just do, because since you're our representative, what is one rule that you would like to see changed in super stock or stock, but whichever, either of the categories, just if you have a rule in mind that you would like to see adjusted.
Actually, I probably, this is going to sound weird, is that let's not make any more rule changes. Because every time we make a rule change, it costs racers more money. And so, I mean, this sport has gotten so expensive the way it is now. When you think about what super stock motors cost and stock motors cost, and you look at a stock motor, and when I look at back in the days when I used to run it, I was helping on a stock motor on the dyno yesterday at John West shop, and here it's got roller rocker, and I mean, you look at the stuff that all this it has, and I'm like going, that's just driven the cost for our sport up, which makes it harder as an entry. And so part of which is we've got to, my opinion, this is solely my opinion, and everyone's got one, that if we keep expanding this and allowing more and more stuff, and it gets more and more expensive, we just are making it harder and harder for the next generation to get into the sport. And I think that's something we got to be mindful of. I mean, I know when I started and I did stock eliminator when I was 18 years old, I had the 1969 Olds 98 with a flat, little drag-light trailer I bought for $900, and I was styling, with my stocker. And guys don't do that anymore, and so it's just gotten so expensive to get in it. So I think we need to be cautious about just continuing to allow more and more things, because as soon as you do, everyone's got an upgrade, and it just keeps getting more and more expensive. So I'm probably more the proponent of looking out for our racers today and saying, let's try and keep, if don't make stockers super stockers. Don't make super stockers comp cars.
Right. Yeah.
So that may not be what you were looking for. But,
I hear you. That's a good answer. I like that. Brian, what do you think about that?
Oh, I agree 100%. That's, you can sit there and rule a thing to death, and then we can complain they're not they're not cracking down on rule violations. So, I mean, I don't know, it's anything competitive. The competitive people are going to drive and always be pushing and putting money into it. And I think there's a lot to find in, there's a lot of entry level combos. And I know, talking to John McLaughlin in St. Louis, like, he wants to come on and do an episode so bad and talk about budget stockers. Like, there's no reason. All of my friends at Bracket Race, there's cars and combos out there that you could go out and buy for less than $10,000-$15,000 and come and be competitive in the sport. Are you going to have to work on your driving skills? Yes, there's a lot of things you can work on that don't cost you money. But, for my combination, I have a slow A stock car. That LS1's been beat, and, I don't have a huge budget to put into it. So I'm never going to be the fastest guy out there, but just have to work better at driving and have fun with it, I guess.
That'd be a sort of a cool show to have. I know Billy Nees is another guy that likes to come out with the budget cars, and you could have a panel of, okay, put Ernie Neal in that group as well, because he always finds that oddball combination.
So we need Billy Neese, Ernie Neal, John McLaughlin. We got to put together the list. We'll have a whole, by then our equipment will allow us to do all that, right? Right, Brian and Craig? All right.
Yes, it will.
Yeah, I think it will. I think we'll be fine. So, Kent, thanks a lot for joining us tonight. We appreciate you coming on. Congratulations on your almost double up in Atlanta. Super stock win, super comp runner up. And at least you got the win in the cooler class. I mean, let's be honest here.
There you go. Well, thank you. And I appreciate the invite, and you guys are killing it. Doing a great job. We appreciate it. It's helping our sport and helps, bring class racing to the front. And we all know how important that is. And so we thank you very much.
All right, Kent, you have a good one. Take care. All right, everybody. Thanks for joining us. Remember, today's episode was brought to you by Coffee by Artisan. So coffeebyartisan.com. Go on there, join the race team, get a free shirt, get a free hat, get 15% off of your coffee purchase. Find us on social media, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, Apple, Class Racing Today for all 4 of those. And classracingtoday.com is our website. If you want to hit us up, classracingtoday@gmail.com. Thank you all. Have a good week. See you at the track.